Hi, I'm Barbara then from Visit Victoria, and welcome to Melbourne and Victoria. And I see the chat's getting quite active. I'd love to hear from you if you've been to Victoria and what was your favorite place. That would be really awesome to see. And in the meantime, I'm going to kick off with some basics about Melbourne and Victoria. I'm going to see in a second whether I've got lots of pros in the room, but for those who haven't been or who are not familiar with the destination, a few key things. First one is size. Victoria is about the size of the UK, but we've only got about 10% of the UK's population, and most of those live in Melbourne. So what you've got is a lot of wide open spaces and a lot of nature, but it's also of a reasonable size that you should bring enough days to explore. And Victoria sits at the southeastern side of the continent, so Mediterranean climate, which means warm summers and mild winters, and of course the seasons are inversed. So you've got it's a great winter sun destination, but actually because we've got mild winters, it's really good to visit all year round. And for those of you who didn't know, eucalyptus leaves don't lose their, or eucalyptus trees don't lose their leaves in the winter. So the destination is actually green all year round as well. So it makes it for a nice destination to visit all year round. Melbourne is a fabulous gateway to Australia. You've got quite a lot of airlines flying here, and of course, a choice of international hubs. So it's great and easy to get to. And what makes us special is we're the wildlife in the wild state, and I'll say a little bit more about that later. Let's have a quick look at the comments. Mainland state I haven't visited. Oh, well, I've got some interesting sites in store for you. Love Victoria, so much to do and experience. Fabulous. Love the skiing. That's an interesting one. So if we're talking about skiing, then let's talk about the topographics as well. So here's a more detailed look at Melbourne and Victoria on the Victorian map. What you'll see is that Melbourne sits in the heart of Victoria, and it sits on this round, almost entirely encircled bay. That's the Port Phillip Bay. And the arms linked left and right are the Mornington Peninsula and the Bellarine Peninsula. And then the coastline follows an almost W shape, or if you want to describe it beautifully, like a butterfly. So on the left wing of that butterfly at the bottom there, you've got the Great Ocean Road, and a bit further up north from there, you've got the Grampians National Park. And on the right wing of the butterfly at the very bottom, you've got Wilson's Promontory National Park. And as you're heading along that coast, you will also encounter the Gippsland Lakes. That's all the Gippsland area. And further north in there, inland, you've got the high country where you can go skiing, as I see some of you have been doing. And then almost immediately south of Melbourne, you've got Phillip Island, where the Phillip Island Penguin Parade sits. But let's kick off with magical Melbourne. Now, why do I call it that? Well, because the Melburnians love their hidden gems and hidden secrets, and there is a lot for visitors to discover, like the little laneways, which are decorated with beautiful street art. And in those laneways, you will find fantastic shops and beautiful restaurants, unique individual designer boutiques and small cafes. So really quite a nice way to explore. And of course, the best way to explore Melbourne is on foot. Take a tour with somebody, with a company like Hidden Secrets, and they will take you to some of the best places. And then, of course, there are amazing rooftop bars to discover and great coffee. So if you've taken advantage of that great gateway and you've arrived in Melbourne, you're feeling a little bit of jet lag, go to one of the cafes and try one of Melbourne's absolutely exquisite coffee. And then what we're seeing on the picture here is another really magical Melbourne experience. There's no other mega city in the world that you can fly over in a hot air balloon. You can do it in Melbourne. It's an absolutely fabulous experience because you get to see the CBD and the skyrise buildings there, as well as the Port Phillip Bay in the background. Absolutely amazing. And then there's so much new. So we've got new hotels opening in September, the Ritz-Carlton, and from its reception on the 80th floor, you're guaranteed a pretty panoramic view over the city as well. And over here on the right, we've got the Marriott Docklands 5-star hotel. At the bottom here, the Oakwood Premier Melbourne, great hotel for with its suites and apartments. Great hotel for those who might want to stay that a little bit longer or who are traveling with families. And over here on the left, we've got the Mövenpick on Spencer, where kids get free ice cream every day. How nice is that? But Victoria, for those of you who have traveled, it's a paradise for self-drive holidays. We've got about 2,000-kilometer long coastline and up to 2,000-meter high mountains. And what's really special about Victoria is that we have the highest diversity of landscapes in all of Australia. What that means for you and your guests touring in a car or camper van, the scenery outside that car window changes constantly. So it's always varied and always changing and always beautiful. As you can see here on the picture, also very exotic. This is the Blackspur Drive in Yarra Valley. And there's many places that you need to see. So absolute top highlights here in Victoria is the obviously the Great Ocean Road, absolute must do on any trip, in fact, to Australia. And what you see on the picture is the 12 Apostles. And then bottom right, you also see the really cute penguins on Phillip Island. Every evening you can see the penguin parade on Phillip Island. It's actually absolutely one of those must do places to see. And then we've got so much more, like the Wilson's Promontory National Park, which you see top left here, an absolutely incredible nature destination. That's one of the places where you're able to see wombats every night, guaranteed in the wild. And you can also discover Australia's most southerly point, and just offshore from there, Skull Rock, beautiful kind of rock formation with lots of mystery surrounding it. Great place to visit with Pennicod Wilderness journeys by boat. Over here on the right, we've got the Grampians and the newly opened Grampians Peaks Trail. That's a 100-mile long distance hiking trail that just opened. As you can see, the scenery in the area is completely different. You've got rugged kind of mountains of up to 1,000 meters in height and sheer endless eucalyptus forests, and also the highest concentration of Aboriginal rock art in all of Victoria. If you want to see what the Grampians Peaks Trail looks and feels like, The Guardian has just this week published a hyperlapse video of one of their journalists hiking the entire length of the trail. It still made 5 minutes, even condensed, but it gives you an absolutely fantastic insight into the kind of beautiful nature and panoramic views that you get in the Grampians, and gives you an idea of, why you maybe want to explore it on a one-day walk or a shorter multi-day walk. You don't have to do the full 13 days. And then bottom left here, we've got 90 Mile Beach. Behind which you see this lake system. That's the Gippsland Lakes. So 90 Mile Beach is this thin strip of beach that separates the ocean from the Gippsland Lakes, which are Australia's largest system of inland lakes and waterways. An incredible area of unique flora and fauna, and absolutely beautiful to explore by boat, or also hikes and by bicycle. And there's an absolutely new, amazing attraction opening in the area as well, Meetang Hot Springs, which you see the little artist's impression there in the middle. They will open around about June this year, and you've got, very similar to the Peninsula Hot Springs, they are geothermal hot springs, quite a large complex. One of you'll have geothermal pools, one of which will sit on top of a hill overlooking the Southern Ocean. Really amazing experience. But they also have overwater glamping villages right in the heart of the complex. Quite amazing. And then there will be another one opening later on this year in October on Phillip Island. Saltwater hot springs, again, a huge complex of geothermal pools. And together with the very famous already and much loved Mornington Peninsula hot springs, that will make quite the wellness offering for visitors touring around Victoria. Over on the bottom right here, we've got Budj Bim on the Great Ocean Road near Warrnambool. It's the only UNESCO World Heritage Site dedicated to Aboriginal culture. So a really special site, and something you absolutely must see when it opens, probably also in June this year. So connecting the 12 Apostles and all of these places I've just shown you or highlighted, In order to experience them and travel to them, visitors will, on average, only spend about 2 to 4 hours a day in the car. So really what that means is that there is a lot of space and time left for long lunches, for outdoor adventure and for relaxation. So that's also one of the reasons why Melbourne and Victoria is such a beautiful place and such a paradise for self-drive holidays. I've already alluded. Oh, when did the Peninsula Hot Springs? When somebody went to the Peninsula Hot Springs when they last visited. It's great, isn't it, Jules? Hope you had a great time there. And somebody did the helicopter over the. Oh, I really wish I had done the helicopter. That's absolutely true. The helicopter rides over the 12 Apostles are amazing. I would recommend everybody to do it because you may or may not know the rock formations along the Great Ocean Road are not just the 12 Apostles, they actually extend for 25 miles and they're really spectacular and really best appreciated from the air. But let's talk about Aboriginal culture before I run out of time. We don't just have Butch Bim to experience Aboriginal culture. You can experience the oldest still living culture on Earth very well in Melbourne. There is the tours to ancient sites and modern art with the Koori Heritage Trust in Melbourne. And you can follow this up with an Aboriginal heritage walk in the Royal Botanic Gardens. And then you can have lunch or dinner at Big Esu by Mabu Mabu on Federation Square, where you can try some of the indigenous ingredients and recipes. Really amazing experience. For rock art, I've already mentioned, head to the Grampians, highest number of rock art, Aboriginal rock art in Victoria. And if you want to learn how to throw a boomerang, head to Tower Hill, where the Gunditj guides will introduce you to the art of throwing a boomerang, and where you're probably pretty likely to come face to face with emus, koalas, and kangaroos as well. So talking of wildlife, I've already mentioned we're the wildlife in the wild state. Now, why is that? Well, we occupy 3% of the Australian continent, but here you actually find 30% of Australia's wildlife. So quite a lot of species in quite a condensed kind of little area. And that's why you are guaranteed to see, for example, koalas in the Otway National Park on the Great Ocean Road, or on French Island, quite close to Melbourne, or also on Raymond Island in the Gippsland Lakes. You know, head to Halls Gap in the Grampians for kangaroos, or obviously Phillip Island for the penguins. And then wombats, Wilson's Prom, as you see here on this picture. And if you want to see the elusive platypus, there's almost no greater place than Lake Elizabeth on the Great Ocean Road. You're pretty guaranteed to see platypus there. So there's just one problem with the wildlife. You're almost never alone. I don't know if any one of you had that experience when they toured Victoria. You've got the wildlife everywhere, and also you're always accompanied by beautiful birds like this cockatoo here, or rosellas in the colorful rosellas, for example, in Wilson's Prom. And this couple here enjoying their breakfast in lawn, obviously with one of the friendly locals. And talking of breakfast, there's a lot of beautiful food. I don't know if you knew this, but Melbourne has got the highest number of restaurants per capita for anywhere in the world. That's 3,500 dining venues. So I challenge anybody to eat their way through the city. And of course, Melbourne is really famous for rooftop bars and coffees and culinary, kind of creative culinary restaurants and different cuisines that you can try there. And if you want to enjoy a beautiful wine as well, there is 5 distinct wine regions with 800 vineyards and 600 cellar doors. So it's always a pretty amazing place to go and try some wine. And then we've even got a UNESCO City of Gastronomy. If you want to find out what that's all about, head to Bendigo. So plenty of time for beautiful beach barbecues, long lunches in vineyards, or great coffee in Melbourne. So I've come to the end of my presentation. Quick one just to flag, we've got the website obviously and our Facebook and our Instagram site, but we've also recently done our interactive 2 webinar training sessions. And If you want to watch those recordings or video content about any of our regions, head to visitmelbourne.com destination showcase. You will find the 2 webinar recordings there, and you will find videos about all our regions, be it the High Country or the Murray River region, and you can familiarize yourself with those areas. And because sustainability is such a big topic, you can also visit our sustainability page, where you will find out about lots of great places to stay or wildlife conservation attractions, for example. And that's it from me.